Geared Up North, your compass in the wilderness. We're passionate outdoorsmen turned gear gurus on a mission to equip you with tools, insights, and camaraderie to conquer the great outdoors. From North America's hunting fields and icy waterways, join us for gear reviews, tips, and lessons learned. Welcome to Geared Up North.
Oh! Martin here with Geared Up North, doing an episode with the one, the only Kirk Douglas. If you guys don't know who he is one of the admin for the Saddle Hunter Classified page, a huge gearhead like myself. Kurt, anything else I'm missing?
Nah, that's about right.
The buy, sell, trade junkie.
Yeah, have to buy it and then sell it to buy more.
Preach, man, preach. So kind of give a little backstory of how you got into like the outdoor stuff or some of the passions you have, if that's whitetail or any other thing else.
Mainly it's probably just from my family. I mean, my family's mainly military and outdoors people, and my dad taught me everything with the outdoors, and I've probably been hunting legally since I've been 12. Before that, I used to always go out with my dad and everything. So, I mean, it started at a young age. I've always been out in the woods. So, between that, fishing, turkey, anything you can speak of, I was doing since a young age.
Do
And
you have a favorite between the three or any of them, like between whitetail, bear, trout, or is it kind of like season based?
mainly now it's just I mainly focus whitetail. I I was huge. I was a really big fisherman for a long time. Uh, my mom passed away, and then that kind of like went downhill whenever that happened. And I mainly just been focusing on whitetail, uh, archery season, and then when rifle comes around, that's a given, just because that's what we've been doing our whole life is rifle hunting. But it's especially when the kids came along, I had to really focus and manage my time, and family comes first. So I try to focus off-season scouting, and then try to get out as much as I can whenever archery season comes around.
Makes sense. I know for the listeners that don't know, he's out in PA, and similar to Wisconsin, opening weekend of gun season is probably a federal holiday, even though it's not technically by state law.
Yeah, schools are off. Everything's off. Well, not all the schools. I mean, we still have some communist counties and stuff around here, but for the most part, it's a holiday, especially from the western part of the state where I came from originally. And I mean, I think Pennsylvania has to be one of the highest amount of licensed hunters, and that's the people that are actually licensed. We have a lot that aren't. Um, but I mean, first day rifle, just like from where you're from, you go out, you see orange everywhere. It's just like a pastime that everyone does.
Yeah, I treat it no different than going to a Packer game or a Steeler game. It's tradition, and it's funny too, like to the whole like deer camp vibe. Like you could have somebody who just shows up and just drinks. They don't even go out to hunt. They're there just to hang out. And then you could have the exact opposite, who's the diehard, who's out in the stand 2 hours before daylight and out 2 hours after, gets about 4 hours of sleep a night and just runs.
Yeah, and then you come back to camp and everyone acts like they've been out hunting, even the guy who drank all day and just woke up.
Hey, Tommy, how come dinner's not done yet?
But you're right, you do. You have that mixture in every single camp. There's no doubt about it. But it makes for a good time, though, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure. So I know that you're like a big gear junkie. Kind of highlight what were some of your big pieces that you used last year that you tested, you enjoyed, you liked.
I mean, as you're aware, I go through gear like underwear. So it's hard to pinpoint it just because I like to try out new gear and test stuff. But the two pieces that I still have that I used last year, well, actually, there's three, is the treetop mobile sniper for one sticking, and then the Lone Wolf Custom Gear 1.0 hang on. And I still do have the compact doubles. However, I did just put those up for sale because I want to try the micro doubles during the off season. But those worked out fine for the last half of the year. But the stand, the 1.0, and then the mobile sniper has been probably the longest running gear that I kept. I mean, now I bought the 1.0 about 4 times. Bought it, sold it, bought it, sold it, bought it, sold it. But I keep coming back to pretty much any of the custom gear stands. Or I found that they're probably the most, at least for somebody who's afraid of heights, the only stands I really feel safe in. And I only use one strap. So, I mean, it's the only one that accepts a tow hook pretty aggressively and doesn't move on me. So that's always there. And then the mobile sniper is just a beast, as you're already aware of. And I really don't care too much about weight when it comes to comfort. So, those are the two that I stuck by with saddle wise, which I use in this tree stand, and also it's pretty much my harness. My safety harness is a saddle. As you're already aware that, and I know you know just from talking to you, that TX5 has always been my favorite saddle, especially the Lone Star 2.0. However, since they've moved on to Latitude, I mainly use, I still have that one. I still have a 2.0, and then I mainly use the custom gear modifications Cobra. And I have a Sidewinder on the way that's actually just hit the mail. The custom one, I had them make me. They're actually made him customize me like the hybrid that he has just came out.
Okay.
So that I don't have to use it as a hybrid with the leg straps the way he has them. But he made it so I can switch those in and out and use regular leg straps too. So I'm going to get to test that out to see how that runs.
So when you saddle, do you use your leg straps, or do you not wear them, or you like me who just doesn't really care, doesn't use them? It's been 2 to 3 years where I got sick of care and like wearing it.
I'm afraid of heights. So if I don't have those leg straps on, I feel like I'm just going to fall and die. But I mean, you're not, obviously. But in my mind, the way I play it is most of the gear that I use, mine is TX5. I don't think they actually sent theirs out for testing, but I know the Cobra custom gear stuff, they actually test their leg straps to actually hold weight. So they're actually rated. So to me, that's how they were tested. So I'm going to wear them that way. But like, you got some that are real thin that, in all likelihood, they're not going to save your life if you're dangling from the leg straps. But yes, I do. I wear them just because I guess you can call me a sissy.
No,
I'm afraid I'm going to fall.
To me, the biggest reason, I wouldn't even say that. To me, the biggest reason that I don't wear them is just the comfort factor. Just to you, like I would much rather wear the Sadillac or the TX5 2.0 Lone Star without the straps, mainly because sometimes I don't wear my saddle in. I'll literally throw it on at the bottom of the tree, and just the biggest thing for me was dealing with those extra straps and buckles put on at the bottom of the tree. And I've gotten so used to climbing or one sticking without it that I just kind of learned how to adjust without it. And once I figured out that I could survive going up and down without putting them on, I'm like, yeah, there's no point. We're just taking this off. That's extra stuff that gets in the way.
Yeah, I mean they're I guess they're a pain to put on, especially in the dark. You're trying to be quiet, and for me, I'm also afraid of the dark. So when I go into the morning, I think that somebody's behind me all the time, or trying to come at me anytime it's dark. So I hate being at the bottom of the tree just messing around and stuff. So I agree with that. I just got used to wearing them. So whenever I go up the tree, especially one sticking, they can be pretty painful.
Yeah.
But I've learned that at least get it to the point to where I can have it cinched up enough that they're not pretty much hugging the boys, but they're also not squeezing the crap out of everything either. So this is
Yeah,
mainly what
makes
you're
sense.
comfortable with.
What type of pack did you run, or what type of, I should say, plural packs? Probably like 5 or 6 did you try out last year?
See, I have 4 downstairs now. The one I mainly used all last year was the Innovating the Outdoors pack that he doesn't make anymore. Um, I still have a Kiss pack from TX5. That was always my favorite, just because it handles everything because of the flap on the front, and it was always pretty comfortable whenever I would weigh it down. But last season, I mainly used the Innovating the Outdoors pack. I tried pretty much every single one that came out. Uh, the Stags Stealth pack was probably one of the most comfortable ones, especially for one sticking. But I switched between one sticking and tree stand hunting so much that uh, buying a pack just for one sticking wasn't. At least when I was looking at it and I saw, how much it costs, and I figured, well, I can sell that and buy a bunch of other stuff. So for me, it just didn't make sense to keep it. But that was probably the best one sticking pack that I've used.
So when you
So
did the,
right now
sorry, go ahead.
I have the Innovating the Outdoors pack. I have a Kafaru checkpoint, and then I have both of the custom Lone Wolf packs that they have, the half pack and then their wolf pack.
Okay.
Most of the time last year, I tree stand hunted, so most of those packs integrate easily with the tree stand. And then I didn't use the Kiss pack that much. I still have one because I'm just not getting rid of it. But I would say the Innovating the Outdoors one's the one I used for almost everything last year, and I wish he still made them.
What's kind of the highlights that you like of that pack compared to others?
The main thing was it stood up on the ground. It didn't fall over. And then it was the way it opens up. It opens up on the top, and it only goes like halfway down. So you have stuff strapped on the front. You can easily just unzip it without unstrapping anything and reach into it and grab anything you want.
Oh, I see. So instead of it being like a traditional backpack, just for anybody to understand, where it goes the full moon, you were only doing like the
Half.
top crown or like the hat instead of like
Yep.
going around the full chin.
Correct. And then when it opens up, it's a short pack, but when it opens up, like it's pretty like deep, if that makes sense. So it's short, but it's deep. So whenever you open it up, like you can literally like get everything in and out of it without touching
Yeah,
anything you
so
have
it's
strapped on the outside.
efficient to be able to get everything without having to pack everything, unpack
Correct.
everything to be able to get to the bottom of whatever's in the pack.
Yeah. Now for traveling, it's not like the best traveling backpack because you want to open it up all the way so you can get to all your clothes and stuff. But
No, but for the purpose that it's designed for, it would
yep.
work. Now, if I'm traveling, which I've used the Kiss pack for, that's a great carry-on backpack because you've got so many of those pockets and zippers to fit anything and everything. It's a no-brainer.
Correct. And that's usually what I use the Kafaru checkpoint pack for, which is essentially just like a shape charge, but it's just more geared towards civilian stuff.
I know you said you're kind of a big fan of the Lone Wolf custom gear stuff. Did you ever try out the Ranger Hybrid? Or if you did, how long did you hold on to it before you sold it?
So, yeah, I think I had that for 5 days, maybe.
Okay.
It might even be shorter than that. No, the shortest equipment I ever had was the Trophy Line Hyperlights, then the Latitude sticks, and then it was probably that. But I didn't get rid of that because of anything wrong with it. The other two I mentioned I just didn't like, but the other, I believe that's the true hybrid because people like to say they hybrid hunt, and there's really no. For me, hybrid is like mixing two and making one, where a lot of people are like, for example, I use a saddle when I use the 1.0, and people call that hybrid. It's tree stand hunting. I'm just using my harness to lean back in whenever I want to stand up. You know what I mean? It's not hybrid. But that the Ranger though is, I think, like probably a legit hybrid method. I mean, you're mainly using it for saddle, and then if you want to sit down, you're gonna sit down just for like, I don't know, maybe an hour tops. I don't even know if you can get an hour in that thing sitting down, unless you're
Oh,
short
but
and
I'm sure I'm sure you could sit down. I just don't think it's truly designed to be the sit on like you're talking about, to sit on it for like more than an hour like a true tree stand. But even to say, for example, you're using it for a rut hunt and you want to be able to like actually dangle your feet off the platform and get blood flow back again and actually like hug the tree, or even if you do it the other way with your back against the tree. I just feel that, like you said, it's the only true hybrid thing, because there's other brands that have, I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but like if you have cables, I don't consider that a hybrid setup.
that's a tree stand. I mean, the Novix has that one, the Raider or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but that doesn't, you've got the straps in the middle, which is even
Yep.
worse.
Yeah, that thing. I mean, yeah, I don't think any of their new stuff that they're coming out with is even worth what they asked for. I mean, it should be more of a budget option, but it's really not. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, the hybrid though, it's the Ranger is. I mean, it's nice. I've almost picked one up a couple times again just to have, especially since prices are going up. But I know if I get it, I'm just going to sell it. So because so I'm trying, it's just if I focused more on saddle hunting specifically, where I wanted to lean in the saddle more, I would probably use that because you can sit in it, straddle a tree, facing the tree, and everything is it's very comfortable. But you know, I like moving around too much, so and my back kills me after so long. So I like to sit down and have like a way to spread my legs a little bit on the tree stand.
Yeah, makes sense. What are like when it comes to some of the other stuff? Like, do you have a favorite brand for like your outer layers or like your camo?
Yeah, so I've came back this past season back to First Light, and now I'm anal, so I have to match. So there's some stuff in Sitka that's better, I think, than First Light. But I also think the gods from the heavens are going to strike me with lightning if I wear Sitka and then First Light together. So I don't do that. Um, it's so, and I don't want to, irritate some people too bad by mixing the both. But for me, my main thing is base layers. So if you have a good set of base layers, it don't matter what your outerwear is, as long as you have a good wind blocker in it. Any of the outerwear I think out there is going to work just fine as long as you have good base layers. And for me, my favorite base layers are First Light base layers. They've always been. So I used to wear those with when I had Sika and even the Osteo gear. I had scent blocker. And then I had I mean, I still have a bunch of all the like random stuff out there, like guide gear and all that stuff I still use. But I want to say when it gets cold and I want to be warm, for me, the First Light stuff worked the best at cutting the wind and then also just insulation. But I, I mean, for me, I like the Spectre camo. I think the Spectre camo is probably the best looking camo out there if you want to get into that type of stuff. But ultimately, I also don't think, I mean, I wore like what I'm wearing now, like this color's out in the woods and hunted out of whenever it's warm. And I don't think it really matters to deer, but it matters to what you want to look like, I guess, if that makes sense. But, it's stuff's just getting so expensive now. So, I mean, stuff is going up, what, $100? I mean, the lone wolf stuff just went up like a lot, and there's no signs of it slowing down. So, you know how there's a lot of people out there that always will come to me and ask me, like, especially newer guys, what camo to get. And I used to just say, just get what you
What
can
can you
afford.
afford?
Like,
What
seriously,
can you
it
afford?
doesn't matter. Like, just because you want to look like the guys off a Meat Eater with First Light. Like you don't have to do that to hunt. And there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, honestly, most of the stuff you go to Walmart for is just fine, as long as you
Yeah,
have good base layers. I mean, so I always tell people if you're going to spend money on your base layers, and then get whatever outerwear. As long as it has wind blocker, you're good.
yeah, I would agree 100%. The biggest thing, and I'm gonna agree with Kirk on the base layer thing. I've tried a few different brands, but I always come back to First Light. They're not the cheapest, but I mean, I've got a pair of their zip off, the midweight ones. I wear the piss out of those things, and then
Mm-hmm.
scouting, turkey hunting, whatever that might be, even if it's just doing yard work when it's 40 degrees out,
Oh
to me,
yeah,
they're worth every penny. Now it's a big, and like Kirk said, it's not cheap, but I would agree with him that like the best thing you can do is base layers. Start with that, and then if you're building your kit out, like I don't think any camo like there are certain camo patterns that work better, but I think a lot of it's based off of what type of terrain you hunt in. I mean, like for me, I prefer Osteo, but that's just because the type of trees that I like to hunt out of, that camo pattern matches to a T.
yeah.
And like I'm sure for Kirk, it's the same thing. The type of stuff that he likes to hunt in PA, that Spectre camo probably works way better than the Osteo does. But that's dealer's choice. I mean, you could literally go get a used pair of bibs and whatever else, and you could just get a windproof base or like a windproof sweatshirt or midweight jacket and just throw a freaking, just as long as it's not Carhartt bibs over the top to make a noise, you'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you can wear the Carhartt biz, but it's gonna be hard getting up that tree.
Well, yeah, and as soon as you make a move, you're gonna be sounding like,
I have a set of those. I throw them on in the gun season still. It's mainly because I know if I see a deer in the gun season, it should be. I don't have to be stealthy about it.
yeah, and you
But
guys mainly do drives, right, for gun season?
yeah, the first morning we'll usually sit for probably until about 1 o'clock if we can make it,
Till the
depending how cold
hangover
it is.
cheers.
Yeah, it depends how cold it gets, but uh, we usually try to sit. I mean, I can sit. Like my whole family doesn't archery hunt, so I'm used to just sitting. So I can sit for a while, even in rifle season. But once I know, I try to sit through lunch because I know it's everyone's getting up to go to the trucks to get their food, and it's when the deer usually move. But after that, yeah, that's all we do. We just put drives on nonstop, and we've been doing it for years now, so we have everything mapped out. So I think last year, the first week, and I think we got 9 deer, no bucks though. Well, we got 1 buck, and I think the rest were doe. But a lot of our families, that's what we eat, a lot of it, and it feeds a lot of our families just because beef is ridiculous price wise. But we actually eat it all. We don't do it just because we want to shoot stuff. We actually eat it. But yeah, I mean, back to the Osseo, I had that and it just didn't fit me well enough. That's the only reason I didn't keep it is because it just didn't fit me. It was too baggy for me. And but the camo matches everything. I mean, that camo pretty much blends into anything out there, unless you have a really green, you know, foliage up. It's not going to match that great. But the way I see it, that camouflage isn't necessarily for me and keep myself hidden from deer. It's mainly so other people don't see me ultimately. But up here in PA, it doesn't matter. Everyone walks right underneath of you and hunts the same tree if they can. Public land is pretty rough. But yeah, base layers is the best way to go to spend your money there. I think minus 30. Is it minus 33? Is that the other brand that a lot of people use? I think that's
Yeah,
what it's
there's
called.
them, and then I forgot who. Black Ovis is a
Yeah.
pretty cost
Yeah. And you
effective
can get
one.
those cheaper. They just had
Yeah,
a big sale.
I've used some of their stuff. I mean, it's definitely more cost effective. I just know that there's not as much of a comfort factor compared to the First Light stuff. Now, there is a considerable price difference. I mean, there's sometimes when they have the sales on like Camel Fire or even on blackovis.com that you can pick up like an extra large zip, like a quarter zip top for like under $50.
Yeah.
Compared to if you do the same thing with First Light, you're easily spending $100. So you could get the top and the bottom for under $100 on one of those Camel Fire sales. But I mean, I wouldn't expect it to last more than 4 years either.
I agree. I mean, I think my oldest piece of, I think most of my actually base layers from First Light are, I'm on my fifth and sixth season, and that's all I wear. Like even when out here, whenever I go out shoveling snow or something, that's what I throw on. Outside of some pilling a little bit, like they're completely fine. And I used to wear through base layers all the time. So that's where I think the best money is put is through base layers.
Yeah, that and socks. Darn,
Yeah, that's a good
darn
point.
tough socks, but they're expensive. I mean, you're spending $25 for a pair of socks, but the two upsides is they're made in the U.S. in Vermont, and they've got a lifetime guarantee. So even if your sock size changes or you rip through a pair, you just file a claim, mail them in, and you'll get a new set.
Yeah, I need to get a pair of those. You were trying to talk me into those last season. Yeah, I still need to get a pair of those. I also want to try the alpaca socks too.
I've heard some pretty good things on them, but I've already pretty much invested over $200 into the darn toughs. I wear them for work, for play, for hunting, fishing, for anything. I mean, it's a big investment. You're spending easily anywhere, unless you can get them on clearance or on sale. They're at least $20 a pair. But I mean, the way that I look at it, I could keep buying the Hanes 6-pack for $25 and burn through that whole 6-pack in a year, or I could just spend $120 and get the same 6 pair of socks that are going to last and I'll have for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and the first thing everyone always complains about after a hunt or during a hunt is their feet. It's just as important as anything else. That and a good pair of boots.
Yeah,
but
let's talk about that. That in itself could just be its own podcast.
Yeah, because there's so many opinions. Just like camo brands, there's so many opinions in that.
No, I agree, but I mean, out of your personal opinion, what have you had the best luck with? No, I understand that everybody's feet are different, frames are different, and whatever else that might be. But even just, what's your personal opinion on what's worked for you?
So I had foot surgery 4 years ago, and my podiatrist recommended Crispy with a number 4 stiff sole, so it's real stiff. And so I got a pair of Crispy Colorados 4 years ago, and I'm still wearing them, and I haven't had any reason to get anything else. They have really good ankle support, so climbing the mountains and then side hilling, they work a lot better than any other boots I've had. Still haven't worn through them. Their insoles suck. They're probably the worst insoles I've ever had. After one season, they're super thin, so I'm testing out different ones now. I have like 3 coming in that I'm trying to try out. Um, I can't justify spending $300 on insoles whenever I spend $300 on the boot. Because I know a lot of people like, what is that, sheep, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it was Sheep Feet, one that I heard of. I know that there was a few other ones. I haven't tried any insoles yet. I'm actually probably just going to stop by my chiropractor and just get some custom orthotics done, because if I'm going to your point, if I'm already spending X amount on boots, and if I can just swap out the orthotics in between boots and just say, cool, these are the pair of boots I'm running for turkey season. Cool. Let's just put these insoles in and be done with it.
Yeah. That's what I have. There's a couple some people told me to try out. Cork ones, like any cork style is supposed to be really good. And they're fairly cheap. But again, it might just be one of those things. I am not familiar with, unlike all the gear, I'm not familiar with insoles. I'm used to just buying the Rockies off the shelf at Bass Pro that weigh 10 pounds and hunting in them for years. And then when they wear out in the 2 seasons, I would just buy another pair.
That's me. See, I am part of their Facebook algorithm. Every 2 years, I get at least one pair for under $100. Burn through 2 years, buy a new pair in 2 years.
Yep. Yeah. So I mean, so I like buying non-insulated boots. I don't like insulated boots at all. My feet get cold. I have my feet get freezing, but then, like you said earlier, I run a good pair of socks, a good wool liner sock, and then a wool outer sock. And if I'm walking, I'm wearing thin socks. And whenever I get to the stand, I'll put a heavy pair on if my feet sweat. But I've since I've done that mindset, now it's not as cold in Pennsylvania as it gets up where you're from. I mean, you guys are ridiculous up there with how cold it gets. But
Yeah, there's some days where it's just I don't know why you're even leaving the house.
yeah,
But
I would probably be wearing pack boots if I was up there. But at least here, like the first day of rifle this year, I mean, it was with wind chill like in the negative degrees. I mean, it was freezing. It was like 40-mile-per-hour winds, and it was 10 degrees when we went out. So it was cold, but I just had a good pair of wool socks on. But then I also wore heated socks too, which is a game changer for your toes.
so
Um,
which heated pair of socks did you run with? Because I've never really looked at that because I'm similar to you. I'm comfortable with wearing a midweight or a heavyweight pair of merino socks and then some
and
form of compression or liner sock underneath that. And to me, the biggest thing that I've noticed is that liner sock or compression sock makes a huge difference just to pull that moisture away
mhm.
from your foot so it's not just stagnant.
Yeah, I got a cheap pair off of Amazon. I returned them after the first day. They
I'm
worked, but the problem is,
surprised that you probably waited until like after a week or two and then just stopped by the local Kohl's and returned them.
no, what I did was I had them, I shipped them to my dad's house where I was going for the first day. So what I usually wear is I usually wore those, what are those things called? Those Arctic Shield like booties you put over your feet.
Yeah.
That's always what I usually use. But 3 days before opening season, when I knew it was gonna be that cold, I took them out of my bin downstairs, and I was trying to. The zipper was stuck, and I ended up like breaking the zipper. So I knew I was gonna need something, but I couldn't get another pair shipped quick enough. But I was able to get a pair of heated socks. Now walking in the heated socks is the worst, and I got cheap ones. You can feel the wires in them, and if you don't like nothing on your toes, I mean it's horrible. But when sitting, it kept my toes nice and warm. But the problem is they didn't come all the way down to your heels. So when I would stand up, my heels were frozen. So I mean, I guess they do make some pretty expensive ones that wrap your foot. Um, I probably won't get another pair just because I don't like having stuff on my toes like that. That's just
No, I'm the same to you. I think that would drive me nuts
and
because like I don't want anything like to your point. If I'm already spending X amount on boots, I'm not going to buy that $20 pair of cheapo heated socks
yeah,
from
yes.
Nico supply store. I'm like,
I couldn't even imagine where it came from, but I knew that going into it, and I was only going to be wearing the first morning half the day, and I was only going back probably like a mile. So I wore them in, and whenever I got out of the tree, I took them off because I was like, I can't walk another mile with these things on. Feel my feet.
no, but that makes sense as like a quick fix to kind of like resolve the issue with your booties.
Yeah, yeah. No, I got another pair of booties that are here now that I'll have because I throw those over top of my boots and just put a hand warmer in there. I never had issues. I usually don't have it. It has to be pretty cold for me to use those. Usually, just a good liner sock and a good wool sock usually works fine for me. But when I used to wear insulated boots, I would always have cold feet because it would just retain the heat inside, but it would also make your feet sweat too much. So my feet would always sweat, and then I would start losing heat, and they just get cold, obviously. But with the non-insulated boots, they breathe a lot better.
Yeah, I've heard that from a few people, and that's one thing that I struggle with. But then again, I usually buy like the 400 800 gram special, whatever it is from Rocky or Georgia.
Hmm.
Insert whatever brand or Facebook algorithm that you get the local For You Friday or whatever the other deal is. And
Yeah.
Yeah. Aside from the Crispies, is there any other boots that you've tried that you like, or is that kind of like your go-to for anything and everything?
So I tried Danner hiking boots. Um, the soles would just rip off. Uh, what else did I try? I mean, for my job, I used to wear boots all the time. So I've tried all the different, like Garmont, which I believe is an Italian boot, um, Under Armour. The Garmont ones, the Italian ones were fine. They just, the waterproofing, you had to keep retreating them. So the waterproofing wasn't the best. They were comfortable though. Soles wore out pretty fast, but like the Under Armour and stuff, they're comfortable. But like I have, like now I wear Under Armour boots for work. So if I'm out in the field and stuff like that, they're comfortable, but they wear out and they're cheap and they fall apart pretty easily. Other than that, not really. I mean, the only ones I've had consistent would be the Crispies. I mean, they they take a lot of beating. I'm surprised with how well they're still held up.
What other, like, obviously we've gone through a pretty whole gamut of everything. What are some other pieces of gear that you would say are kind of a necessity for you for bow hunting, whitetails?
To me, would be just a good stand or a platform that you're comfortable with. I would say anything that makes you comfortable. So I guess it's personable. For me, it's a good tree stand that I have enough room on it when I sit down, it takes the pressure off my back. And then a good saddle. And again, that's all subjective too, because every saddle fits everyone differently. Um, Most people I know that had the Lone Star 2.0 liked it, but I also know several people I talk to all the time that said they couldn't stand it. It just bugged the hell out of them. Um, I would say the saddle is probably, for me, that's changed my hunting was probably be a saddle, no matter which way I'm hunting, because I rappel all the time also. So even if I'm up in a tree stand, I'm rappelling. Uh, I don't really hunt ladder stands or presets because they would be stolen within hours of me putting them out there. Uh, and so I would say probably for me, it would probably be the saddle because that's probably made me feel the most safest when I'm up in a tree. I used to always use a regular traditional harness and I never really felt like secure in a tree. But once I started saddle hunting, I felt more confident to get as high as I need to. And I know when I'm up there, since I rappel, I could always self rescue myself if I do fall or go unconscious for a minute, I guess. I can self rescue myself. But I also practice doing that too. But most people don't. I believe that's probably very important to do too.
Yeah.
Definitely,
How
I would say
often,
saddle.
how often would you say you practice, like, with any of the, like, obviously you test a ton of gear. We'll just use a scenario. How often are you going to practice with your Lone Wolf 1.0 before season? Is it something where you're getting like 10 reps or like double, triple that?
So I have one, what I call the crap tree in my backyard that usually eats up every single piece of gear. If it's not going to make it, it'll just eat. It's a good test tree because it's horrible. Um, so I mean, I want to say priority this year. So like tomorrow, I'm going out scouting, I'm going out walking. In between probably last week, I put 12 miles on. This week, I'm only going to get to go out tomorrow half a day. Uh, so last week, I take my gear with me, and most of the time, whenever I park, there's usually trees around. So I want to say I went out 3 times last week, and I probably each time took out my tree stand, saddle, and rappel stuff and practiced. So I try to do it every time I got to the woods. And it's not so much that I'm doing it to, I guess, practice because I want to, I guess I'm doing it to get better and more efficient because I feel like you can always get more efficient some way. Um, but then usually what I do is whenever I come down the tree, when I get closer to the bottom of the tree, I'll like hang off of it sideways, hang upside down, and then try to pull myself back up. I've been focusing a lot on fitness this year, so I'm hoping that doing all that stuff, that any situation I get myself in, I could get myself out of. But that thinking also comes from working in law enforcement all the time, expecting the worst and always preparing for that stuff. So that's why my mind's like that. Uh, so I've always been a survivalist type person. So always thinking of how to make it if I get lost in the woods and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
always carry a med kit, carry a tourniquet everywhere I go. So I'm usually pretty prepared for that.
Cool. I think we can kind of transition. I know one of the things that we wanted to kind of talk about and address is just kind of like tips and tricks for buying and selling gear. Because obviously, you out of probably everybody in the group have, or in the Saddle Hunter Classified, have probably the most experience buying, selling, trading. What kind of tips or tricks do you have for anybody that's looking at, or just even if it's somebody who's looking to just kind of like get their first kit? What's a good way to kind of make sure they're not going to get scammed or get screwed?
I mean, I see it every day, so I get a lot of practice with it with the Saddle Hunter Classifieds. You know, being a moderator on it, I'm approving people to come in and out of that group and approving posts. So I see it a lot, so I get a lot of practice. So um, where I see most people get scammed is they're not looking at the profiles. Like they're literally seeing a good deal and they're getting all excited and they want their first kit. And then, I mean, recently there was one that a guy had one of those Ranger hybrids for $300. And I know when I saw it, I didn't even bother looking at it because I'm like, no one's going to sell that thing for $300. That's legit. But if you're new, you think it's just a good deal. And if you don't click on that profile and look at his friends, look who's liking his photos, because it used to be the link. So you used to be able to click on the Facebook link, their profile link, and they used to say the people's real names. So if you saw an Eric Smith, it was really Abdul Jabbar or whatever. That would be their profile link, so you would know it was fake. But now you can switch that, and they caught on to that, so they can put the guy's name down. It usually has numbers after it, so that's not really a surefire way anymore. The main way I've been seeing is one, if you click on their profile and it says that they just joined the group and they're already posting stuff, that should tell you to look into their profile closer. I want to say 90% of the time it's a scammer, but there are people that post right away whenever they join. And then just scroll down their profile, go to their main profile in Facebook, and you'll see on their photos will have a timestamp and you'll have a little clock next to it. If you see that little clock, that means they altered that timestamp. So they took a photo from someone else and then they made it look like it was more recent. And that 100% of the time is a scammer. So if you ever see people on Facebook where they add their engagement or they got married like 10 years ago, you probably see that with friends and stuff on Facebook. They'll update their profile and they'll say, I got engaged 10 years ago because they never put it on their profile. You'll always see like a little like timestamp that has a clock because it's an older event that they just put on recently. So that little clock almost always is on a scammer's profile. You also want to look at their friends. Usually they only have like 3 friends or they have like 5,000. And if you scroll through their friends and start clicking on their friends, you'll notice that their friends are scammers pretty easily. Or the best one is you'll look at their photos and their photos will be like hunting photos. But then if you keep scrolling down, you'll eventually see that it's some lady from South Africa with her kid and you'll see their real photos from their real profile. The hard ones are whenever profiles get hacked. And I mean, those are hard to pick out just by looking at them. But if you're talking to them, their English is going to be off. And I don't mean like redneck English. Like sometimes I'll talk and it sounds weird. It's like they refer to you as sir. They spell stuff wrong. You just really have to look at their profile. I mean,
Yeah, I'll go a little bit further into that. Like they'll say like buddy or friend or like that. I don't know. To me, like I agree with Kirk. The big red flags are the profile. That's me from what I've noticed. Like to your point, that guy that got for that Ranger hybrid. The other thing I would look at, the price. I would look and see what the price is normally of that item. Unless it's something that's like 2 to 3 years old, the best you're probably going to get is $100 off. Maybe you find the right guy that is going to sell it for more than that. But like if it's a mobile sniper and if it's below $400, it's probably a scam.
yeah, I always say a good roll is 20%. So if you got something that's somewhat fairly new, like a Ranger, if it's below 20% from what it retails at, it's probably a scam. Now, there's some people like me who will remove stuff pretty quick because I want to move it because I want to get something else that will sell it fairly cheap. But I mean, I would say the best thing to do is if you get to the point you're getting ready to buy it and you're talking to the guy and he says that they don't want to do goods and services. It could be a red flag. There's a lot of guys that don't do goods and services. Like for example, me, usually I think I'm already like above 600, right? So even though I know at the end of the year I can prove that I took a loss and stuff. I just don't like dealing with certain stuff at the end of the year, you know. So I don't use goods and services. I usually will just do friends and family. But again, I can provide 1,000 references too. So I can usually get through that. But if a guy doesn't want to do it because I don't want to do goods and services, I also don't pressure. A scammer's going to pressure you. And then he's going to eventually say, yes, never mind. I don't have PayPal. I can't do goods and services, but you know what? My buddy does. And then they'll get some random PayPal address that's some random sister's uncle's name. And they'll say, just send the money there and then that'll be fine. That right there, don't do it. That's a scam. There's nobody legit's going to tell you to go pay their uncle or their brother from somewhere else. They're just not, because they know they're not going to see that money. So
Yeah, and one other thing on top of that, I would ask for a legitimate video of the product and them actually showing themselves in the video.
yep.
I know I've similar, not hunting related, but there was a lady trying to sell a DJI Pocket 3 on Marketplace. And I told her, I'm like, cool, I'll buy it for this price, but I need to see a video of it. Yeah, needless to say, she changed the price and changed the ad and
Yep.
still sitting there, but it's
Yeah, that and that's good you brought that up, because another good one is the written note and stuff. I mean, they're getting good at photoshopping that now too. It's really hard to pick up unless you look at it every day and you're familiar with how to Photoshop. It's hard to pick up. Some are just really poor doing it. They just put Photoshop their piece of paper over top of another piece of paper and you can see it. But a good one is a lot of times if they take a photo and they're holding their written note, it's usually photoshopped. Not all the time. There are people that are doing it legit, but it's easier to Photoshop your hand holding a piece of paper. And what they do is they hold it very close to their camera, so it looks bigger. So it's easier to hide the Photoshop and the items. So what I would suggest is if they do that, say, I don't want you holding it, I want you putting it down. And then you ask them to take another photo with it somewhere else and move like their stuff around. But ultimately, the best thing, like you said, is the video. And then of them writing their name and stuff on a number and the date in real time with the items in frame. Because a lot of people will, and I see it all the time, where they'll write their names, like a video of writing their name and their date, but then they don't show the items, and then they have a Photoshop of the picture with that note in there, and it's like, I mean, ultimately you just got to do your due diligence. If it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right, and if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Another good suggestion would be if you're in any of these groups. So the classified groups are probably the most regulated. At least I can say for the saddle hunters classifieds, we do a pretty good job. There's not as many scammers, but they get through. I think we average probably about 1 to 200 people a day trying to join. Most of those are scammers, but like the mobile hunters classifieds, that's pretty well regulated. But if you go to like Saddle Hunter Nation and all those other groups, they're not required to get approval to post. So they're just, most of the time, if you see that in those groups, that's where all the scammers. I think True Saddle Hunting group right now, that I think it's called True Saddle Hunting, is bad.
The Run and Gun Whitetail page, I think, is another one that like I'll see, and that's another thing too. And I've noticed this for people that are scammers, they're gonna post the exact same thing in like 4 different groups to try and catch that fish as soon as possible.
Yep, and that's where that's where a lot of guys get slammed, is those other groups, not the classified groups. There are people that get scammed in the classified. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've seen people and I had to, say sorry, that guy got through. I don't know, it just happens. But most of it's from those other groups. But one suggestion I have is just if you're not sure, just post the guy's name, tag him, and say, does anybody have any dealings with this guy? You should have probably about 50 people immediately going through that guy's profile like a detective, and someone's going to tell you if it's legit or if they think it's legit or not. Because I know when I see those, I'm all over it, and I'm just like, oh, I want to see if this guy's a scammer.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and honestly, if you're listening to this episode and you're one of those guys that's looking to get a new kit and you got a question on somebody in like any of these classified groups, myself or Kirk and pretty much all of them, because we're buy and sell trade, well, you could say crackheads, because I'm not as bad as Kirk, but I have probably just in the last 2 weeks at least $700 in brand new gear that either got dropped off or is getting shipped.
Yeah, it's you just got to ask. If you ask, I sell a bunch. I don't buy that much used off the groups, but I do, because sometimes some of the stuff that comes through is a pretty good deal, and especially if I know that if I sell this and then I buy this used, I'm going to have all this extra money here, and I could put that back into more gear.
Right, 100%.
But you can just ask. I mean, I always tell people in the groups, just reach out to me. I won't tell you 100% for sure of anything, just because I don't want you coming back to me and saying, well, you told me this guy's legit. But I will tell you, I would probably deal with that guy. But then I also will say, I'll only do goods and services if he's new. I'm only going to do goods and services. I mean, that's, even though I'm a guy that likes to do friends and family, but I've been around. But if I see a new guy, even if he has references, most of the time, if they're brand new or, just a couple months, I'll just say I'll buy it, but I'm only doing goods and services. Just because you haven't been around a lot. Just because you didn't get one guy doesn't mean you can't get me.
Right.
But for the most part, like you said, though, you reach out to most of these people, put a post up. There's a lot of guys in these groups that are good people that will research that guy immediately. A lot of the admins and moderators, we also do have regular jobs, and so sometimes we're not always available either. But most of the guys that are in these groups are just like you and me. We work hard to get where we're at. We might buy a lot, but we're usually selling more than we buy because I know that every time my wife sees a package come up, now she's just used to it because I also will send her emails and say, hey, I need you to print off this label for me. because I since I found pirate ship, it's a lot cheaper.
Yeah, big time.
So I always will send her an email saying, hey, can you print off this label?
Yeah, on the side view, I've got a printer right next to my desk, so I can literally print the label.
Yeah,
And
it's
old school. I'm just gonna pull it up for show just because it's super baller.
that's legit there.
A estate sale or enrollment sale for like $5, and I'm like, yep, I'm buying this.
So most of the stuff that I got usually got shipped to me, and I usually I save the label in the box, so I just copy what's off there, and I try to guess the weight as close as I can, because you definitely don't want to pay more. That's for sure, because they don't give you your money back if you pay more.
Nope, that's why I always go under.
Yeah, if
You're that far off, but if you're only off by like a few ounces, it's not that bad. It's usually when you're off by like more than 8.
Yep.
Back in
They
the day,
won't, but
when they actually counted it and checked it, you could be off by like 2 or 3 pounds and then never notice.
yeah, and it gets you now. But yeah, so it's most of the people that are buying all this stuff is just a regular blue collar guy, just buying and selling just to buy more stuff because they're just gearheads.
Yep.
And
100%.
I just I like to try to, I personally like to do a lot of testing myself just because I got burned when I first started. So I used to buy it, like the XOP stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, right? When I was first started hunting, I always bought like the muddies, the stuff like that, Hawk, which I won't buy anything Hawk ever again because I almost died using the Hawk.
No. But I agree with you. Like my first set of mobile sticks, I wouldn't really call them mobile anymore, were the muddy sticks
Yep.
with the camp cleat. They were noisy, but man, they were silly efficient to get on a tree. And I like the fact with the way that the feet actually pivoted a little bit. So if you had like a little bit of a lean, you could still kind of go up the tree without being too leery of falling.
If I was using anything preset, or if I had private property where I wasn't walking far, I would still use those 100% because those
Well,
things are great. They're just heavy.
I thought about picking up a bunch of them if I found them on Marketplace for just presets.
Mm-hmm.
I would just set up like 3 or 4 of them, still bring in one stick for the bottom, and then have everything else to use to climb up, and then just rappel down, no different than you do.
Yeah. I mean, they're good sticks. But yeah, I mean, then I got burnt. I would watch YouTube people, especially whenever like the whole mobile stuff was getting big, like when Lone Wolf Custom Gear first started, whenever they, like not first started, but whenever they started as Lone Wolf Custom Gear. Um, you get a lot of these personalities on YouTube, and I'm not talking, there's a bunch of good ones out there. There's some that also don't like that I'd be saying this, but that they're just saying stuff to get free stuff, and they're saying stuff's great. And I got burnt by that several times when I first started out. And I always told myself, if I'm able to, I'm just going to try this stuff myself. And then whenever I see this stuff online getting, gloated about how great it is, and if I tried it out and I know it's a straight lie, then I usually call it out. So that's usually why I try to do all these. I try to try as much of the new stuff as I can. I have to be able to afford it, first of all, which is why I don't want to sell these compact double sticks because they're great sticks. But I also can't just afford to go buy the micro doubles either and keep those. So that's why I sell it. It's the only way I can afford to get the new stuff. I probably wouldn't have a home or wife or kids if I just bought all the stuff that I have straight with the bank account. There's no way. I'd have to sell it to buy more. And I get questions sometimes. Some guys will say, "Well, why are you selling this?" Like, because I want to buy more. And they're like, "Oh, really? What's wrong with it?" Nothing. I just want to buy more stuff.
That's to me, if I'm you in your shoes, I would just have screenshots of the stuff that you sold in the last year and just be, hey, just check out my Facebook profile. I've got a full album of stuff that I bought and sold in the last week.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, check this out here. If not, bye.
I, I don't even care no more. I usually just tell them, listen, if you don't want to, I don't care. You're not hurting me. You don't have to buy it from me. Uh, but so that's what I usually, I try to give at least my opinion, and it's just an opinion about stuff. Um, I've, based on my opinion, I've probably saved a couple people where they still follow and they still reach out to me every time something new comes out to see if I had it first. Um, I try not to pay attention to a lot of the YouTube stuff, but there are some that I really like that I trust their opinion and stuff like that. And I talk to them through Messenger and text and stuff now all the time. Because I know that they're also like me, they're gearheads, but they actually can produce a video where I couldn't produce nothing if I tried. I have a GoPro where I film my own hunts and stuff like that. And then I just use the quick app just so I can, edit out the stuff I don't want on there. I couldn't make a YouTube video. It would just look horrible. And plus I sound like an idiot half the time I talk. So it would look horrible. And I also have a lot of people that ask me this stuff because they know I'm not a YouTube person either. Because they know I'm not getting stuff for free. I've never got anything for free from anybody. So I've tested stuff that pre-production, but I'd never got stuff like, hey, here's this new stand, go try it out and let me know what you think. And can you make a video? I've been asked to do that, but I was like, I don't do videos. So that's why I try to do it. I try to just give honest feedback about my experience. Because a lot of this stuff you see people, they just open it up and say it's the best thing they ever got because one, they got it for free, or two, they just spent a lot of money on it and they don't want to acknowledge that it's not good because they just spent a lot of money on it that they can't afford just to get rid of it.
Right, and they want that 10% affiliate link to be able to get some recognition and credit.
Yeah, if you see that here's this discount code, they're usually affiliated some way. That's at least my experience. And it's not always a bad thing. There's some people that are affiliated that I trust. I just know that there's some that aren't about the right thing either. Well, at least that's what it looks like. I'm not trying to call out anybody.
No, but I agree with your opinion on that. There's I'd probably say 4 or 5 channels that I would, if they do a gear review, I'll watch it. If it's anybody else's, I just watch it just to see if they're saying anything bad about it. And if they're, to like Kirk's point, if they're just doing, oh, this is great, this is good, this is that, and the other thing, they don't really say any of the downfalls or the cons, that to me is a big red flag. Now, that might be that they didn't have enough time in the piece of equipment that they're doing the review on. That might just be like an open box or like an inbox or opening it up and putting it on the tree and doing like a quick hang thing in the backyard. But similar to Kirk, like I'd rather put my own hands on it, test it to my abilities, because not that their review isn't credible or relevant, but I'd rather test it to what I think I need to do because I beat the crap out of my stuff. I want to make sure that, like to Kirk's point, if I have or run into an issue, I've got that fail safe or worst case scenario to make sure that I'm not going up a creek.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you bring up a good point that it's not that there's some channels that I would say that they're always positive. There's never anything negative. And I would look at that one thing that they're saying so great. And I'm just looking at it like, I had that. There's no way that you found nothing wrong with that. And so those channels I try to stay away from. But I also still watch them just because I shouldn't, because I keep getting them views. It's probably a bad idea to keep watching because I want to see how great something is next.
Like, for me, and to your point, it's like I always buy and sell just so I can buy the next thing. Like when I bought that Ranger hybrid, I sold a bunch of other non-hunting stuff on Marketplace to cover at least 3/4 of that cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I might have that for a month, and it might go right out the door. But it's like, I don't know. We can ramble on gear for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, no doubt. That's for sure.
But
I think that the main part of this, though, like if you're buying something, just ask somebody.
yeah,
Just put a post out there. If you don't know,
we talked about the red flags would be checking the profile, getting an actual video or photo of the product with their signature or whatever in it. And then if you don't, or if you're just, if they're trying to do a PayPal with their buddy or their friend's address, huge red flags.
yeah, PayPal. If they don't want to do PayPal, they want to do Zelle, Apple Pay. Apple Pay is a big one now that they've been using, or Facebook Pay. Don't do it.
Don't use Apple
Yep.
Pay.
Just don't do it.
Venmo, if you don't know, is pretty much the same company as PayPal, and they do have like the goods and services protection. But to me, the
It's
only
not
one
as good.
if it's a brand new person that I don't know or I've never like seen on a group thing before, or like say for example, the other thing that I look for too is if they're mutual friends with other people that I know,
Yep.
or somebody that I can look at, because then I'm like, okay, cool. Like the guy that I bought the hybrid from, like, okay, cool. I knew like 4 people that I'm friends with, that he's friends with, and I'm like, okay, cool. This guy's
Yeah.
not just trying to like sell it to like wreck somebody over.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point too.
But
yeah.
No, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. Awesome conversation, Kirk. I appreciate the time. Do you want anybody to reach out to you, or do you just prefer to be in your basement tinkering all night?
No, I don't care. It don't matter.
What's the best way if anybody's got any questions or anything like that to reach you? Just Facebook? Or are you on Instagram?
Probably Facebook.
Okay.
Under Kirk Douglas. And again, I just mainly did that just because instead of using my full name, try to make it harder for some people to find me based on my job. But probably just Facebook. I mean, like you said, I'm a moderator of the Saddle Hunters Classifieds group where I think just today we have like 70,000 people in it. So you're probably part of it. But Facebook's a good one. If you have any questions, I can reach out to you. I have Instagram, but I'm also older. Instagram is it's like foreign to me. But it's hooked up with Facebook, so that's why I have it. Probably just mainly Facebook, because that was new to me too. Whenever it came out, I kind of just had to go to that. But yeah, it's probably the best way. It's probably Facebook.
Cool. Awesome. Appreciate the time, man.
All right, man. Good times.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Geared Up North. The adventure is far from over. If you're searching for more epic excursions, gear reviews, and insider insights, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Geared Up North. Visit gearedupnorth.com for more information, and don't forget our latest episodes are available wherever you get your podcasts.